Hi, welcome back. I'm Joe, and this is the Ultimate Love Letter. And thank you for joining the conversation. I had a tremendous weekend filled with so much beauty and so much love and so much play. And that's exactly what I want to get into. What it feels like to live a life of play. You know, something that I've been saying just organically over my life is that I'm living a life of play. And if I think back, when did I start saying that? I would say it was around 2021, 2022, so about 2 years now. And I don't even know where that came from. I just know that it just became a mantra. In hindsight, I didn't set out for it to be a mantra or an affirmation. It was just something that I just found myself just saying just organically. And so when I say organically, then I just know that was just of God. God was setting me up for what is our birthright, which is a life of play. And I become so emotional because boy, those answered prayers that weren't even prayers, right? They were just springs of blessings that just bubbled up within inside me that came about just from the beginning of a word that was coming out of my mouth. Play. Playtime. I think back to 8-year-old Joe, right? Like, I had the best childhood, and what I loved to do more than anything was play with the neighbors, play with my Barbies, play with my Barbie van, play with my remote control Barbie Corvette. It was such a beautiful time of play. And when I now think about God and the way we're being taught, the way that we're beginning to understand how we are to, how we're able to, how we're giving permission to live our life, God really just wants it to be a time of play. And you've heard, if you read any spiritual books, if you've read any books on the law of attraction, whether you're calling this source, this highest source, God or the universe or your highest being, whatever it is, at the center, at the core of these teachings, it is all about going back to who we were as children, right? With our big imaginations, with our carefreeness, with our freedom. And yes, what did that look like? It was playtime all the time. But that is exactly what life is meant to be about. That is an abundant life lived, is living in that play. And so I want to just get into the beginnings of or going back to the beginnings of playtime. So as I was saying, I just organically, the word play came to mind. And so I just remember just having conversations with friends and journaling and talking to God. And it was always, God, thank you for the life lived at play. Thank you, God, for the playtime. And now, not necessarily did my life completely look like playtime, but that was something I was yearning for. That was something that I was certainly thriving for. That was something that I certainly saw over my life. I remember during 2020, as I was laid off, I would see just a few people out when everybody was like locked down. I would see a few people out just, riding their bikes. I mean, it was beautiful. It was springtime here around the world. I was gonna say here in LA. It was springtime. It was like March, April, and the weather was beautiful in Los Angeles, and people were just out riding their bikes. And I remember thinking, God, I need to get a bike because I need to get out there. And when I purchased a bike, like I found myself everywhere in the wind, like my old elementary school, going to my old neighborhood, and, just driving up to the local, ice cream trucks that were out and about, trying to earn $1 during COVID. Like it just became exactly the things that I did during my childhood, riding my bikes around Los Angeles, looking for an ice cream truck, or actually the ice cream truck pulling up on me. It really went back to my stomping grounds, my 8-year-old self, 8-year-old Joe, where life was just free. And as I began to just live in that life and just love on that life during the pandemic, the words just came out of me like, I just want to live a life of play. Like I just want play. Wow. Well, speed ahead 2 years later, my life has become an adult living a life of play. I see it everywhere in my life today. I see that the work that we're doing here on our podcast is really play. Like I'm sitting here and I'm able to converse about the things I love the most, which is God, which is nature, which is the animals, which is humanity, which is just screaming the truth of God's glory and his peace that embodies us all, whether we're letting it out or not. Once we let it out, your world just becomes a glorious transformation into playtime. And everything becomes a life lived of ease. Because what was playtime, right? It was easy. It was vibrant. It was carefree. It was adventurous. It was just the ultimate freedom. And now when I look back in every corner of my life, and I'm talking about my relationship with my beautiful sweetheart, is just a sweet love. It is like elementary, high school love. Like it just feels like that sweet, pure, gentle love. So that feels like play. And when I think about my work, everything we're doing here on our platform, everything we're building, it's really play. I'm having such a beautiful, freeing, light time doing exactly what I love. When I think about what I do when I leave the home, everything that I do, whether I'm hiking, whether I'm walking down the street, whether I'm running errands, it all just feels light and effortless and a time of play. I was yesterday at Venice Beach spending time with family, and in my head, I'm getting ready for ultimately the biggest trip of my life. If you followed along, you'll know that I'm going away to Europe and then on to Bali, where I'm going to have an extended stay in Bali, just taking our podcast on the road. And I'm just going to be in nature and just be there. And so in my mind, I'm getting ready for that trip. I haven't packed yet. I still have episodes that I would love to pre-record. I want to be spending my time in reading God's word and meditating. I want to be work. That's work for me, by the way. I want to just be submerged in my work. But yet God had another plan. Like in the middle of what would be the busiest week before I leave, a multitude of family came in. Like my son arrived, my grandchildren arrived, and it's like, so of course, organically I'm pulled away for work because I definitely want to spend time with my family. And even though, of course, in the moment, on the surface, I'm thinking, God, this could serve as a distraction because I want nothing more but to pour into our projects and wrap up everything before I have to leave. But God is like saying, no, like, yeah, you're going to leave. Yeah, you're going to be packed. Yeah, the work is going to get done. Can you just be present in playtime with your family? Like I'm serving up another grand blessing in the middle of what is already a grand blessing. Take it all. And that is what it means when God says, I will pour you out a blessing you have no room to receive. I am in smack dab in the middle of blessings that I have no room to receive. We went to the beach and kind of got to the beach what I would have thought was, a couple hours later than we had originally planned. And so now I'm thinking, oh my goodness, is the sun going to be out? Maybe we should just settle for, the side of the beach, which closest to, where we park, so we don't have to waste time, walking down, the boardwalk and finding the place. Is it going to be overcrowded? It's Father's Day weekend and all the things that the mind does when you're not present, right? But of course, I know the remedy to that, and that is just to bring myself back to the present. Whereas God, I am not 2 hours late. Actually, it is perfect timing. God, I'm not going to worry about the sun, whether it's going to go away anytime soon, because I know that you are a miracle keeper and that you will make the sun come out and stay out all day, even into the night, if that is in your will. So I have nothing to worry about. You're leading me here, God, to spend time with my family. It is going to be tremendously beautiful. And so wouldn't you know, of course, we find beautiful free parking close to the beach. We go right into what is convenient, right off of this, right into the first area of sand. So we don't need to walk a long distance. And it is not overcrowded at a weekend where it should be. The weather is beautiful. It is Father's Day. It should be, shoulder to shoulder with people, but it's not. It's just the perfect amount of space and people watching and nature. We find a beautiful big space, enough to hold, the 8 of us that are out here. We set up our beautiful umbrellas, all our blankets, our chairs, food, everything. We have more than enough space for us. And then as I settle in, I notice it's like almost quiet. How is it almost quiet at this beautiful public beach? And if you don't know Venice, it can get quite chaotic, but it's quiet. It's like everyone is just almost like meditating and just being and just taking in the beauty of the ocean. And when I look at the ocean, I'm seeing different colors. We all know, yes, the ocean is beautiful and blue, but I see waves of blue and greens and almost like a rainbow, almost like the ocean has a filter on it. Like I can't even explain it. I see beauty, like glorious beauty of the sun, trickling off of the water, but in different colors. I can't explain it. You'd have to be in my mind to see it. But all I can say is it looked as if even the ocean with all its beauty had even a more glorious filter on it. And the ocean could be a place of litter. We know what we're doing to our waters, right? You're finding plastic, you're finding debris. There was none of that, like none of it in sight. It was just God's pure nature, pure beauty, pure serene, pure peace, pure stillness, pure quietness. It was like everything is as it should be. It was almost like it was a beach outside of the country. Like if you've never, or if you've ever been to, I don't know, the Maldives or Santorini or Hawaii, you would know that these are among the most beautiful beaches in the world. And Venice Beach yesterday, in my mind, what I saw was comparable to the glorious, beautiful beaches that I find I have to travel, 9,000 miles away from Los Angeles to find. No, I found it right here in my backyard. Like it was tremendously glorious. And speaking of play, like when I got in the water, I just found myself just thanking God for a blessing of being there, being surrounded by family and love and nature and these beautiful, like-minded beings who were just playing in nature as well. There were no loudspeakers, no, people who bring boom boxes, no judgment if you do that, but there were the only sounds you heard in nature were nature, rather. You were in nature and all you heard was nature. You heard the birds. You heard the waves. You heard the laughter of everyone that was playing with nature. As we were in the ocean, again, what I felt was, nature just wants to play with you. Like we found ourselves, when you're in the water and the oceans were pulling you out, right? And then immediately it was like the ocean was pulling you back in to like, hey, let's do it again. Play with me again. And then the waves will come and float you out to shore. And then as soon as you get your grounding and you're laughing because you were overtaken by the waves, here it is. The water is pulling you back. Like, let's do it again. It was such a time of play. Like when you're on a seesaw, when you're on a swing and you're playing with friends as a child, like that is what the ocean was serving up. It was serving up playtime. And I remember feeling this way like in Brazil about, a year and a half ago or so. I found myself on Copacabana Beach. And I remember being like, kind of apprehensive. Like, I don't know if I want to get in the water. Like, the flags are saying it's kind of rocky. I don't know if I should do it. And I was kind of like just putting my toes in, but not going all the way in. And I remember a big wave just came over and took me and brought me in. And it was like it was saying like, hey, you either get in or you get out. You're either going to play or you're not going to play. And I engaged with nature because I felt that is exactly what Mother Nature was doing. It was saying like, hey, you're going to play or you're not. You're going to get in or you're going to get out. And as soon as I just let go and I did not become concerned with what my mind was saying, what the flags were saying, I just could be in tune with what nature was saying. Nature was saying, hey, it's safe to play with me here. Will you engage? Engage or get out, basically. And so as soon as I engaged, oh my goodness, talk about playtime. Like it was the ultimate play. It was child-like play. But when you are in tune when you have your third eye open, when you are open to what is unseen, we can learn so much from nature. We can learn playtime from nature. When you look at the birds, and I mean, again, this is what I see with my third eye being open. I don't just see random birds flying. I see birds in play, birds being free, birds praising God with their sounds, with their songs. That's what I see. When I go up in the mountains, because I live near Griffith here in the Hollywood area. When I'm in the mountains and, we see like animals and, I remember a time when I used to become fearful, like, oh, the animal's stalking me, the animal wants to eat me. With my third eye open, I'm able to see things as they truly are. They're animals that are just living there, just like me. And what I find is they're just engaged in play and taking care of their families and, trying to feed their families like we are, not necessarily trying to feed on me, but they're just looking for the food that God has put for them to eat. God didn't put humans in the path of animals so that the animals can eat the humans. That is not how God designed it. So as soon as I understood that and I removed that fear from my mind, then I'm able to see what the purpose of the animals are. They're there just to really engage with us, to create this beautiful earth with us, to feed their families like we do. They have a purpose to serve as well, just like we do. And when I look in the eyes of these animals, or just their energy, their aura, I can see that. I can just see that. I no longer become fearful of they're going to attack me. I actually see that they're more fearful of me than I am of them. Why? Because humans are actually the most dangerous animal. And they have every reason to be fearful because we have shown that, we destroy and we destruct and we hurt. But what I find is everything in nature is really just at play. And so that is what happens when you are just intending on a life of play, when you are just intending to live life the way God has designed you to live. My devotion today said immediately, hey, lighten up. Laugh with me a little. Don't take your life so seriously. And in my head, I thought, God, that's perfect. This is exactly what I want to converse about today on our platform. Just a life of play. And how beautiful it is to just live a life of play. Can you let go of the stress and the anxiety and the worry that has been imprinting us on today's society? If you can find enough strength, just a little strength to trust that God wants you to live way more at ease, way more reliant on Him, you will find that in that moment, your life will open up to play and adventure and ease because you are basically casting your burdens, your worries on Him. And as you do that, your third eye, your spiritual eye, will begin to see things in the unseen realm and not just on the surface realm. Everything is far more glorious in the spiritual realm. And I don't know any other way to explain it. You have to just experience it. But when God begins to open up your mind's eye, because you're living aligned with Him, right? You're living a life of play. You're no longer becoming anxious and worrisome. He will show you the way things really are. Like, you will see the depths of the ocean, not of the scary place. And yeah, I mean, we are to respect the depths of the ocean. Like, please, right? Like, I scuba dive. I'm a certified free diver. I don't know how that happened, but, and even with all that, I can't say I'm 100% comfortable in the ocean. Absolutely not. I respect the ocean. I understand my boundaries, but I can relax. And as I relax, God lets me know, that I'm safe. And he also lets me know when, okay, it's time to get out the water now. Not that it's of anything that's going to harm me, but, I have those senses also. But more so, you will find yourself engaged in nature, and you will be able to see nature for what it really is and what nature is really doing, and how nature is really serving, how the animals have a purpose and how they're just serving the same God as us. They have a purpose just like we do. They are at play just like we ought to be. And they are simply loving, feeding their families the way we do. And all is perfect. And you can relax in nature knowing that you are safe and you are being fed by it. And we ought to be learning from it. Can you live a life of play? If you can, create just a smidgen of room to bring laughter, to bring ease, to just relax in the unknowing of life. Life would add play and lightness to your life. Thank you so much for being here and allowing me to get that out. I'm sorry I became emotional. Actually, I'm not sorry. It's my favorite thing when I can become emotional over any topic. It's shocking to me that I can keep all my emotions in when, we record anytime I'm on the podcast, because it's just such a beautiful life. When you're living aligned with God, like, can we do ourselves a favor? What are we striving for? What is the headache for? What is the worry for? What is the anxiety for? Like, it's all a freaking illusion. If you could just relax enough to just say, God, I'm not going to worry about this. I'm going to give it to you. And really just leave it in his hands. Don't keep picking it up. He will show you something grand. And before you know it, you will be off living a life of play. The more you do it, the more you relax and just give it to God and go hide under the shelter of his wings, you will find yourself submerged in playtime for the rest of your life. I am living proof. I am playing here in LA. I was playing yesterday at the beach. I am playing right now on our podcast. And in about a week, I'll be playing in Europe. It's just a life of play. Can you relax enough to achieve this for yourself? It is your birthright. Thank you again for being here. If you haven't done so yet, please follow this podcast. Also, we're on YouTube. If you can join us there and hit that subscribe button. And thank you again for sharing, the message. We are growing at a beautiful pace, a beautiful journey. And I just thank you all for being a part of it. Until next time, love yourself and love others. We'll talk again soon. Bye for now.